Imagine a world where aliens, convinced of their superiority, devise a cunning plan to conquer Earth without firing a single shot. Their weapon? Our beloved wine. But what happens when they discover that humans are far more resilient than they ever anticipated? Welcome to the hilarious tale of they poisoned humanity's wine only to learn humans were already used to stronger drinks. Buckle up as we dive into this intergalactic comedy of errors. Our story begins in a grand chamber of the Galactic Council, where Admiral Bloor, a gelatinous alien with a penchant for grandiose plans, stands before a diverse assembly of alien dignitaries. He presents his audacious strategy to conquer Earth, a planet he believes is ripe for domination. The plan is cleverly named Operation Wine and Dine. Bloor explains that humans have a deep reverence for wine, treating it as sacred. They celebrate milestones, gift it to one another, and even have entire ceremonies dedicated to its consumption. The council members, a mix of curious and skeptical beings, murmur among themselves. High Counselor Jix, a towering mantis-like creature, raises a skeptical antenna and asks, "And how does this help us conquer Earth?" Bloor, with a dramatic pause, reveals the crux of his plan. Humans are blissfully unaware that their precious wine could be tampered with. He gestures to his nervous scientific advisor, Pipsqueak, who looks like a cross between a chocolate chip cookie and a stressed-out accountant. Pipsqueak nervously adjusts his datapad and explains that their research shows humans consume approximately 24 billion liters of wine annually. If they were to introduce their latest mind control compound into the wine supply, they could have the entire species under their control within months. The council chamber erupts in excited chittering. Some members change colors in approval, while others extend their sensory appendages in traditional gestures of appreciation. However, a gruff voice from the back interjects, "But surely the humans would notice if we tampered with their wine." Bloor, with a glimmer of amusement, reassures them that their scientists have developed a compound that is completely undetectable to human senses. Pipsqueak chimes in, explaining that they have successfully replicated the exact molecular structure of tannins, natural compounds found in wine. Their mind control agent binds perfectly with these molecules, making it impossible to detect through normal means. The excitement in the chamber grows as Bloor reveals the best part. The compound becomes more potent the longer it ages, just like fine wine. The longer humans cellar their expensive bottles, the more effective their control will become. High Counselor Jix, now intrigued, admits that this plan shows unexpected competence. The council votes unanimously to approve the plan, though some members place bets on how spectacularly it will fail, given Bloor's history of outlandish schemes. As the council disperses, Pipsqueak approaches Bloor, hesitantly suggesting they run more tests on how humans process the compound. Bloor dismisses, him waving a gelatinous appendage. "What's the worst that could happen? It's just grape juice with a bit of alcohol. How resistant could humans possibly be to our most powerful mind-altering substance?" Pipsqueak makes a note to update his resume, sensing that he might be looking for a new job soon. Meanwhile, Agent Gloop, chief of the Earth infiltration team, is beginning to question his life choices. Disguised as a human wine critic named Gerald Snootsworth, he stands in the middle of a prestigious Bordeaux vineyard, trying desperately to remember which end of the wine glass he is supposed to drink from. "Ah yes," he proclaims, swirling the red liquid in what he hopes is a professional manner. "I'm detecting notes of grape, definite grape, and perhaps a hint of more grape." The other critics nod sagely, jotting down his insights. Gloop mentally thanks whoever programmed the human infiltration protocols to make wine critics sound pretentious. It makes blending in so much easier. Meanwhile, in Napa Valley, Agent Splat, disguised as a vineyard worker named Barbara, is having her own crisis. She has spent 3 hours trying to figure out how to operate a simple grape crusher without arousing suspicion. "You just put the grapes in the top?" she asks her supervisor for the 5th time. "Yes, Barbara," the supervisor sighs, just like the last 4 times. "Are you sure you put previous winemaking experience on your resume?" "Oh yes, absolutely." Splat nods enthusiastically, accidentally detaching her head slightly and having to quickly reattach it. I made tons of wine back in Nebraska. Nebraska, yes, famous wine region, very prestigious, known for its underwater vineyards. The supervisor stares at her, muttering something about hiring standards going downhill. Back at the Alien Command Center, cleverly disguised as a particularly unsuccessful wine bar in Cleveland, Pipsqueak is coordinating the global contamination effort. Status report, he demands, stress-eating his way through his third pack of space cookies. France is at 60% contamination, Gloop reports, though we had to temporarily suspend operations when Agent Wobble got drunk on the job and tried to marry a grapevine. Italy's at 75%, Splat chimes in, but we lost Agent Squish when he got into an hour-long argument about whether aliens exist with a local farmer. The farmer won. California's complete, another agent adds, though we had to explain why our wine critic was trying to drink directly from the fermentation tank. Pipsqueak massages his temples, or what passes for them in his species. Just finished the job, and someone please tell Agent Bubble that no, he cannot put the mind control compound in beer instead, because wine is too fancy. The contamination continues over the next few weeks with varying degrees of success and an alarming number of alien operatives developing genuine interests in viticulture. Agent Gloop even starts a wine blog, though his reviews consistently mention notes of grape as the primary flavor profile. Finally, after what seems like an eternity of pretending to understand wine terminology, the mission is complete. Every major wine-producing region on Earth has been successfully contaminated with the mind control compound. Operation Vintage Disaster, Wine and Dine, is complete. Pipsqueak reports back to Admiral Bloor, though he adds, I really think we should reconsider the potential side effects. Excellent, Bloor interrupts, his gelatinous form practically vibrating with anticipation. Now, we wait for the humans to do what they do best, drink themselves into submission. But Pipsqueak hesitates. Sir, our agents have reported some concerning observations about human alcohol consumption patterns. Not now, Pipsqueak. This is my moment of triumph. Nothing can possibly go wrong. The alien observation team huddles around their monitors, watching eagerly as humans across the globe begin consuming their contaminated wine. It's New Year's Eve, statistically one of Earth's highest wine consumption dates. Any moment now, Admiral Bloor mutters, his gelatinous form practically pressed against the screen. Any moment they'll all become our willing slaves. 3. Hours later, the only thing that has changed is Bloor's increasingly agitated shade of purple. Perhaps we should increase magnification, suggests an analyst, adjusting the view screen to focus on a particularly rowdy New Year's party in Sydney. Maybe the mind control is too subtle to see on screen. A group of humans is seen demonstrating their complete lack of mind control by doing something called the conga while singing off-key. Sir, Pipsqueak ventures nervously, I'm receiving some unusual reports from our field agents. Not now, Bloor snaps. I'm trying to detect signs of submission to our will. Yes, but sir, according to Agent Gloop, the humans are showing absolutely no effects. In fact, they seem to be drinking more than usual. His last report mentioned something called a wine fountain at a wedding in Venice. Impossible. Our mind control compound is the most potent in the galaxy. Even the mighty Zorks of Beju succumbed, after a single drop. Another analyst calls out, you might want to see this footage from a wine tasting in France. The screen shows their agent, still maintaining his Snootsworth persona, watching in horror as a human sommelier downs an entire bottle of their most concentrated batch, only to declare it a bit young, but showing promise. Could use another decade in the cellar, Bloor's voice modulator cracks. Sir? Another screen lights up, showing a wine festival in Argentina. The humans are mixing our contaminated wine with something they call fruit juice to make something called sangria. They're serving it in buckets. Pipsqueak finally manages to interrupt, waving his datapad frantically. I really think you should see these test results. It appears humans have developed a remarkable tolerance to psychoactive substances, particularly those delivered through alcoholic beverages. In fact, their bodies seem to process our mind control compound the same way they process alcohol. Bloor's gelatinous form deflates so much he is practically a puddle. I don't understand. The compound should be affecting their neural pathways, making them susceptible to suggestion. Instead, they're having a great time, suggested an analyst, quickly ducking behind their console as Bloor shot them a withering look. Sir, Pipsqueak finally managed to say, I really think we should reconsider our approach. As the command center fell silent, the sounds of humans across the globe enjoying what they would later declare to be one of the best wine years in recent memory filled the air. Sir, one of the analysts ventured, you might want to see this. Someone posted a review of our enhanced wine online. The screen displayed a wine blog post titled 2024's Mystery Vintage, a delightfully mind-bending experience by none other than Buck Thompson, Earth's most notorious wine. Critic Bloor began to wonder if it was too late to go back to his original plan with the weaponized poetry. Buck Thompson had tasted some weird wines in his career. There was the infamous essence of Tire Fire Pinot Noir from Oregon, and that Australian Shiraz that somehow tasted like weaponized potpourri. But this was different. He sat in his tasting room surrounded by empty bottles from across the globe, his legendary palate trying to make sense of what he was experiencing. His latest video review had been paused mid-recording, the camera catching his puzzled expression as he consulted. His notes taking another pass at the 2024 shadow subjugation. Suspicious, he muttered into his recorder. Notes of blackberry, oak, and attempted mind control finish his long complex with subtle hints of alien invasion. Meanwhile, across town, Dr. Elena Rodriguez of the Global Wine Authentication. Board was having her own crisis. Her lab had been working overtime analyzing samples of what she dubbed the incident vintage. These readings make no sense, she announced to her team, gesturing at the lab results. Every sample shows traces of an unknown compound that seems to... Maria, are you listening to me? Never. Her assistant looked up from where she'd been happily sipping the evidence. Sorry, boss, it's just really good wine. Kinda makes you want to submit to a higher power, you know? Stop drinking the evidence. Elena snatched the glass away. And what do you mean submit to a higher power? I don't know, Maria shrugged. Just felt like maybe we should all unite under a singular galactic authority. Also, it pairs really well with Gouda. Elena's eyes narrowed. Years of wine authentication experience had taught her to spot even the subtlest signs of tampering, but this was beyond anything she'd seen before. She reached for her phone. Buck, it's Elena. Remember that time you claimed you could taste the winemaker's emotional state in a Bordeaux? I owe you an apology. We've got a situation. Across the globe, others were beginning to notice. Something was off. A sommelier in Paris reported that a particular vintage was giving him telepathic sommelier powers, though this turned out to be false when he failed to guess what wine his customers were thinking of ordering. A wine bar in Sydney had to be evacuated after patrons began spontaneously organizing into a hive mind, though they mostly used their collective consciousness to argue about pizza toppings. Buck Thompson, now fully convinced he wasn't having a stroke, had assembled a crack team of wine experts in his tasting room. They dubbed themselves the Grape Justice League, much to Elena's disapproval. Look at this pattern, Elena pointed to a map covered in wine stains and red string. Every major wine region hit within weeks. This wasn't random. And check this out, Buck added, pulling up footage from various vineyards. These new wine critics who showed up just before the contamination began. Notice anything odd? The footage showed various suspicious characters, including one critic who seemed to have trouble maintaining a consistent number of limbs, and another who kept forgetting humans couldn't extend their neck 3 feet to reach the top shelf bottles. Also, Maria chimed in, having been banned from drinking any more evidence. Has anyone else noticed that every new vineyard worker hired in the past month is named either John Smith or Jane Smith? Even the one with tentacles. Finally, Buck pulled out his pièce de résistance, a wine bottle with a label that read, Shadow Neural Subjugation 2024 Vintage. I found this in that weird new wine bar in Cleveland, the one that only opens during lunar eclipses and keeps trying to pay its taxes in space credits. Elena studied the bottle. That's not a real shadow, and notes of submission to alien overlords isn't a real wine tasting note. Buck agreed, though he had to admit it did have excellent structure. So what you're saying, Maria summarized, is that aliens have infiltrated Earth's wine industry in an apparent attempt at mind control, but failed because they didn't. Account for humanity's legendary alcohol tolerance? Exactly, Buck exclaimed. Also, they're terrible at winemaking. I mean, look at these tasting notes from Agent Snootsworth. Contains grape. That's it. That's his entire review. Elena began gathering her papers. We need to alert the authorities. The real question is, who do you call when aliens spike the planet's wine supply? Buck grinned, pulling out his phone. Remember my cousin Jack? The one who became a diplomat after that incident with the tequila and the Norwegian cruise ship? I think it's time for an intergalactic wine tasting. Join us next time as we explore more tales of humanity's resilience and creativity. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more amazing stories. What do you think would happen if aliens tried to invade Earth again? Let us know in the comments below.